kitchen had a lot of glass, and so the snow is all there. And my husband said, don't tell her there are places in America that doesn't have snow, because she will say, I want to move there. So Somalis always use scouts, and I think it was word of mouth that many Somalis moved here. And so since then, you know, they created their own community, as we know now.
The Somali community in Minnesota mainly came as refugees after Somali Civil War started in 1991. At least, you know, more than 500,000 to 1 million people left the country because of the conflict. Some of them were brought to Minnesota as refugees. So that was the first wave, if we say, of large Somali that came to Minnesota.
We're people who practice the Islamic faith, but traditionally women are more independent compared to other Muslim countries. That's why most oftentimes in any leadership role in our community, you see women at the forefront, and that's not typically what you would see in other Islamic societies.
Our culture was predominantly a culture of equality in many ways. Women were the backbone of the house. They are seen as leaders who were expected to take a role in the decision-making of the society. And that is how I grew up in my culture in Somalia.
Somali women are actually, both in Somalia and here, work a lot. There are many Somali professional women who work in the state of Minnesota, whether it's the public sector, private sector, nonprofit sector, in philanthropy, you name it. While working outside, they also, take care of the children and the family.
Gender roles back in Somalia was just that men had the say. In the United States, the role is reversed. To some extent, majority of the people that who arrive are women. Majority of men did not survive the war. Half of them arrived at least here, possibly without their spouse. Women arrived, and when they left man behind, it is just that she already learned how to survive without him. By the time he came here, the kids are half American or totally American. The wife just exactly learned how to live without her man.
Somali women are actually the backbone of the family and the society. Many families who resettled in Minnesota are led by women. The head of households are women. Families all didn't come in one place. When war happens, everybody, depending on where they are, they run to wherever they can. So many families came here without their fathers. So you have many women and who were raising their children in Minnesota by themselves. And just like any other society, people get married, they get divorced.
I think women, especially Somali women in the diaspora, have taken the lead in certain industries and in certain sectors. Look at politics right now. Women are at the forefront. When it comes to nonprofit agencies, the vast majority of them within the community that exist are headed by women. Look at our business ventures. At any corner store or a Somali mall or any kind of store that you see or a business that's operated by Somalis, predominantly operated by women.
I think women are more serious than men in the workforce, especially in Africa. That's one of my observations. Here in Minnesota, the majority of small businesses is owned by women, and there is a reason. They are feeding our families. I'm not saying men don't, but I give a credit to the Somali women, and the majority of them are covered, but they have a confidence. And people judge their cover, but you have to judge their confidence.
I don't think this is something that's unique to the location. I think this is something that's unique to our culture and unique to our women, to be driven and be ambitious. It's something that's already installed on you. And I'll give you an example. Like in a household that has boys and girls, the girls, I shouldn't say pressure, get encouraged more to do things. I turned 16, I had a job. As soon as you graduate high school, you go to college, you get a degree, then you get a master's degree, and then you keep going. You keep getting pushed to excel and do better and do better. And I think that's not something that we give to our boys equally. And I think it's something that people are starting to wake up to realize. We tend to cater to our boys, where our girls are told to be strong, be ambitious. You're working at home, but you're also working outside the home. You're also getting your education at the same time. You're expected to do more. There's a higher expectation for our girls than there are for our boys.
Each family wants to raise their daughters properly so they can become a very responsible young woman who gets married later on if she wants to, and have a family and so on. So they are more protected than the boys, while boys, you know, they won't get pregnant and bring you a child. I mean, so that's why in most cases, you know, young women are stay, you know, at home studying or working in the home, or, you know, going to work or whatsoever. So that's why they are actually more successful, because they are more focused and develop the skill of multitasking. It becomes easy for them.
A girl at 12 years old, she's taking care of everybody at the home, cooking, you know, cleaning. They already know what family life is, but the boss is all about themselves.
If that same culture was practiced when it comes to the boys, I think they would be more represented in our universities. They'd be more represented in our workforce. I think women are just expected to do more. When you're in the household, you're expected to take care of that household. But you're also expected to get a full-time job. You're expected to do well in school. You're expected to achieve, you know, higher. And the boys are sort of, oh, he can't do this. And I would run into this, even working with the community. I worked at the city working with the community, and you would see mothers saying, can you find a job for my son? But the daughter already has, let's say, an internship, a job. She still goes to work, you know, school and is about to enter university. It goes on, and the list goes on and on. But those same expectations are not there for our Somali boys, and I think it needs to change. I think if you were of age during the Civil War, there has to be some level of trauma there. There's no way you could have escaped it. The way in which you handle it and deal with it might be different, but there is some level there. We're a community that has experienced horrific traumas, but likes to not talk about it, likes to pretend that's in the past. Let's not, you know, rehash it again.
There are obviously, you know, mental health challenges associated with either post-traumatic, you know, stress syndrome, or it could be even secondary post-traumatic stress syndrome, because the parents may talk about, and they do talk about, their past and what they have been gone through, and the children will hear that, you know, and absorb that.
There are calls that are always coming from Somalia, all the time. So it's either someone that who is sick, someone that who is actually in need, someone that who is stranded somewhere, someone that who is in jail, there's some war somewhere, still, even today. Someone that who is absolutely, totally starving. So when the kids, American kids, are not even involved, their mother is on the phone or their father is on the phone, and we are loud, by the way. The kids are hearing it. At times they don't even have enough sleep because those calls are coming through in the middle of the night. And the kids might not even be able to sleep just because of the call itself. That's another secondary trauma.
The question is, how do we help these people identify it and understand it? That's what's missing. That awareness that there's nothing wrong with having these experiences, there's nothing wrong with feeling this way, that is what's missing from our culture. In our community, mental health is a taboo. We don't have different categories. There are no bipolar, schizophrenia, you have depression, you have this. There's none of that. You're either crazy or you're not. We haven't normalized it. We haven't educated our masses of what this means and how to identify certain feelings. That's what we're missing so far.
It's okay to talk about mental health. It's okay to talk about substance abuse. If your children are addicted to drugs or alcohol, I think the community needs to deal with these demons within the community and talk about it. Because you can't keep quiet and try to hide. It's not going to work. It's just going to get worse.
So these are real stories among these women. They come here and we expect them to fulfill, if they are in social service kind of need, we expect them to fill forms, we expect them to have jobs, we expect them to be good mothers, and we criticize them. But people do not know their whole heart and their story. And that is something they really kind of deal with it in dignity. Unless you kind of go deep down, they won't even share with you. So this is real pain, and this is real story of them while they're raising other 10 children. It's very common. If you ask them, each one of them has a worse story. And can you imagine, God forbid, your 2 children who are missing and you don't know where to look for them. They're not dead and you don't know if they're alive. But I have seen other women who said, I saw my children die in front of me and I didn't even have a chance to bury them. I had to run away. So this is common in the women who came here as refugees.
About our culture, I think a lot of things. Our traditions, our welcoming nature. We're a community rather than, we don't have that individualistic mentality. I mean, if one eats, we all eat, right? I mean, we value family, we value tradition, we value welcoming outsiders. So I think there's a lot of beautiful things that exist within our culture that we celebrate. Traditionally, let's say my mom, for example, or my immediate relatives, I'm responsible for that, right? I remember growing up, starting my first job that I ever worked at was at Target, and some of the money that I made, which even though it was less than $100, some of it used to go right back home because my mom taught me that you're responsible for your family members because you're in a better position than they are. So the idea that I have to take care of others is already instilled on you from a very young age. And I always think, is my daughter going to have that same mentality? Is she going to remember her third cousins in Africa? Is she going to say, I don't care, I barely know those people. Why would I send my paycheck, my hard-earned money to them? But with us, you don't even question it. It's that amount, that percentage of your funds go to them, and you don't question it. You give it right away, and you don't think anything of it. So I think there's a lot of great things about our culture that we should still hold on to, and we still do hold on to it, especially in Minnesota, because there's so many of us here.
beyond the cover, beyond there are human beings, people who have their own minds, who have their own thinking, their own way of looking at things. And unless you get to know a Somali woman, you will never know.
Somalis, they're not English-speaking people, but they love to be friends with their neighbors. So if you are a neighbor and you hear this video, reach out to to them, because I think they're waiting for you to approach them, and don't look the language as a barrier. These people, they wanted to know, Somalis are known for good tea or good sambusa. If you get to know them, you will have the best tea and sambusas. They will cook for you. I see so many families who are just bringing sambusas and tea to the school, and they don't care about how much they spend. They made friends, and they want to please those friends.
If you want to be friend to us, okay, just say 2 or 3 words in Somali, please, okay? Somehow or other, we're just going to lose everything if you just say 2 words of Somali to us.
And if you see a Somali restaurant somewhere in that area, get to know that restaurant, because we do it different way, and we'll teach you how to order. So don't be afraid. Don't be, don't be scared. Somalis are very open people, and they like friendship.
I think Minnesota is unique because you've seen it. We have other communities across the 50 states. There are, there's community in Seattle, in San Diego, in Ohio, and Minnesota is just uniquely different compared to all the other diaspora locations. I think it has to do with Minnesotans, essentially. They're so welcoming. We're part of the community. You don't really feel like you're not from Minnesota. I have family in San Diego, and I don't think they ever feel like they're part of that community. And they've been there for 30 years. But in Minnesota, I uniquely feel Minnesotan. To be Somali, eat sambusa and shah, it's Minnesotan practically at this point. So I think that allowed us to be able to get into different ventures, to get to where we are as a community right now, where we have representation at every level. In politics, we're well represented in the education system, we're well represented in the healthcare system. There is a Somali every institution you look at. So that says a lot about the place that we call home. I think that plays a role. But I think Minnesota has made it possible to get to where we are today as a community.